Well, good afternoon, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be in the world. Welcome and thanks for stopping by. As you guys know, as I'm assuming a lot of you know, if you haven't, I'll maybe even paste a link into the video here in a little bit. But we're today going to be discussing the big, massive hacking and cheating scandal issue, whatever you want to call that, that has come up in Elite. It's definitely not something that's new. It's actually a very old thing. It's just that it's gotten a lot of popularity recently. It's really spread given how easy this one is to use. I've had a number of people reach out to me about it, and because of that, we decided, and we're going to talk about this more in a second with the group. Why we came out and why we published this to everybody. And so I've tried to bring us together a pretty good group of folks that arrange in a broad range of play styles, so that we can hear from a lot of different people. And in short, kind of to go to the question of the video I asked, which is, why do you care? Like, why should you care about this? And so we're going to not take a whole lot of questions from chat today. Please, by all means, have the chat going. By the way, if Obsidian's viewers are listening to me now, Obsidian was going to restream us as well. So welcome to you guys, and big thanks to Obsidian for doing that, and helping us continue to bring bring attention to this issue, because we all do feel that this is exceedingly important. And with that, I'm gonna jump back in. Commander Plater is streaming right now, and he's saying hi to his audience, so there might be a little bit of quiet here as I jump back in to bring everybody in. I'll wait for Plater to join us, and then we'll do introductions and get going here. I did get questions submitted from you guys, from some of you, by the community tab on the channel. We're going to address quite a bit of those today, and hopefully we're trying to keep this very civil and constructive with everybody. Hopefully everybody sees it that way, and we can do what we always strive to do, which is make the game better. So I'm going to take us back into channel. Okay, so we're just waiting for Plater to finish his little intro, and then we'll get started and start introducing everybody.
I'm here.
There we go. Okay, great. So with that, I already shouted out to Obsidian's audience. So again, thanks to those that are joining us. Why don't we go down? We'll just go down alphabetically. Clapton, why don't you kick us off? Tell us about yourself, your player group, all that kind of stuff.
Hi, I'm Commander Clapton. I am, I've been with the Fuel Rats for about 3 years now, and I'm also one of the community moderators there. I'm also one of their quote-unquote tech rats. My main project is our main website. I'm the main maintainer of that. And I've also been just general software developer for probably about 7 or 8 years now. So.
All right, sounds great. Happy, why don't you go next? DM.
I'm Commander DM. I'm the head of research and development here at Canonn, mainly focusing on our API and stuff, but I've dabbled in all of the science. I've been with Canonn probably about 3 years also, and a little bit of background on me. I'm a system and network engineer. I've been doing that for about 5 years, and data center technician for about 7.
Okay. Great. And quickly, most folks know me, but since we're on other channels, I'll say quick. I'm Exegius. I've been making YouTube videos for about the last year, focused on tutorial-based content. My goal is to always help people learn the most efficient, fastest, and easiest way to do things. I generally, when I'm not making videos, prefer minor PvP combat. Not great at it, but enjoy it. I really enjoy PvP piracy, which is where some of these issues in the past, specifically combat logging, have directly affected me. But I really like all aspects of the game, and have been playing since April of 2016. So Harry, why don't you go next in case somebody doesn't know who you are?
Okay. I am Commander Harry Potter, as everyone is probably fully aware. I am best well known for slaying Salome and various other nerds in this video game.
Jesus Christ.
Starting off
right.
I know exactly.
Yeah,
way to address the audience.
You don't need to know anything about my my IRL status.
Sure.
I commonly stream though, very pro PvE and pro PvP. I like to think of myself as very middle ground, but yeah. I think
Here's the biggest Care Bear there is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And Plater, why don't you go next?
I imagine that most people, again, probably know who I am. YouTuber, also have a player faction in game, which I'm the leader of. So in particular, I'll be talking a little bit about kind of the effects of everything in the BGS. Also, I'm pretty well known for encouraging balanced gameplay and hopefully critically thinking about the game.
Yeah, great way to put it. And Ryan, why don't you finish this out?
My name is Ryan M17. I am, I guess, what is commonly referred to as a griefer. Even though, I mean, not really, but I mean, also yes, really, I guess. I've been playing since God launch. I think 2000, late 2013, early 2014. I started off as a player pirate with the code and graduated, I guess is probably the way to put it, to SDC Griefer Scum. But I spend a lot of time. I'm also a mentor in the FDev owned but player run Galactic Academy, and have been since December 2016, I think. So almost 2.5 years, where we mentor noobs, teach them how to play the game, and put guides together and stuff. So that's what I spend most of my time doing at this point, and then just kind of PvPing every now and then.
Yeah, and one of the reasons, or one of my goals today with all of us pulling this together, was to really get as broad. In fact, I also sent an invitation out to the Hutton truckers and didn't get a reply, unfortunately. And I really wanted to bring together, or all of us bring together, a group that was very broad, right? That covered everybody from from a fuel rat, who some might consider the Care Beariest of the Care Bears in a good way, to SDC and griefers and those that others might have a lot of strong emotions about, right? And really talk about how the impacts of these issues and the impacts of all of this hit all of us, right? In my video about the subject, I titled it essentially "Why You Should Care," and I think to a large degree that's what we're here to discuss today. And kind of make clear to people that this isn't just about the it's not fair aspect of cheating. It's about the way that the game operates, and the fact that anything that happens in any play mode affects other play modes, right? So the idea that I've gotten not a fair bit, but I've gotten some comments on my video, and I imagine Plater could speak to the same, of why, like, oh, I don't care. I've even had people, good for them, there's so much grind in the game, if somebody can cheat and get around the grind, then that's awesome, right? Not understanding that no, that isn't awesome, and our opinions of the design of the game, or of the level of grind in the game, or things like that, those opinions are completely irrelevant when it comes down to the facts of the terms of service, and that we all have to agree to that, right? We're all, I would think, most everybody listening to me is an adult. We all are capable of playing by the same rules, and that's really what is important and has to happen. I'll kick us off with, then I'll let these guys jump in. We're going to kind of go round robin style and kind of talk about how it impacts maybe us personally, our player groups, that kind of things. But I'm going to start with the and let everybody address this too, the why. Like, we've gotten a little bit, not a lot. I've been impressed we haven't gotten a whole lot of the oh, well, by bringing attention to this, there are certainly people today that are cheating that weren't cheating a week ago, and that's almost certainly true, right? There are almost certainly people that didn't know this was didn't know this was possible. It's unfortunate that now it's rather easy to search out when it wasn't in the past. It wasn't hard, but it wasn't as easy as it is now, certainly. But we can't control that. All we can control, and all that we can hope to do, is influence the game, I'll put it that way, to address these issues. I talked about it in two different ways. There's a technical way to address this, and there's a policy way to address this. We all of us have some sort of technical background. I didn't say, but I've worked in IT and network engineering for about 20 years myself. So we all understand the technical hurdles that are involved in this, and that it's not as simple as just snapping your fingers and this kind of thing's fixed. I did make the point that, adding deep core mining wasn't an easy thing to do either, right? Adding any of the mechanics to the games aren't easy things to do. And unfortunately, this can't be, and, as I also said, it's not the sky's falling. This isn't the death of the game or things like that, but it casts such a question over so many parts and interactions of the game that we felt that it was way too important to not bring this to light. And with that, I'm actually going to kick it to Ryan first. in the sense that I want, if you want, Ryan, to talk about the history here and point out that this is not something that just came up this week. This is not something that we just found out about and all of a sudden are publicizing, and we didn't give any kind of, chance of anything. This is something that's been around for, and Ryan, why don't you give us a little bit of that history?
Yeah, so I mean, hacks have kind of always existed in Elite, right? They've been pretty rare. The game used to be able to be hacked with like fucking cheat engine, but FDev put some checks in place to make sure that wasn't as easy to do as it was in the past. This specific hack that we're talking about is not the it's not the one that most people are able to find easily. It's kind of a private hack. So basically, there's a public one that is more or less completely detectable by FDev, and people eat bans using it constantly. The one that we're talking about, you have to be granted access to a private Discord. You have to give them your commander name. Like it's a lot more intense than just installing, than just asking for access, getting access, installing, and then just kind of going off on your own. It allows an unbelievable amount of customization that other hacks do not. I'm sorry if my speech is a little off right now. I'm literally in the middle of a boss battle in the Division 2. So
Nice.
I'm really doing my best to multitask here. But basically, we gained access to this like probably in Q4 of last year, like September, October 2018. One of my guys, Tilt Controls, great dude, incredibly knowledgeable. He used to do like penetration testing and stuff, so he's got a little bit of background in doing some of this stuff. So he was able. He was the one that gained access. He basically, upon seeing this, said, "Holy shit, this is a big deal," because this hack specifically lets you modify damn near anything, any part of your ship, engineering. It even has better HUD mods than FDev or anyone else could provide, which is insane to me. There was a lot of really sad stuff that we found. You can tweak engineer modules on the fly in game to things that are not actually possible. So like an example would be a grade 5 overcharged power plant with grade 5 low emission heat, right? So I mean, literally getting the best of both worlds, basically. So we discovered this. He submitted a ticket to FDev through the normal ticketing process, which is generally what you're advised to do when you find something, which is a little concerning, but it is what it is.
And to jump in real quick, if I can, Ryan, just to jump in real quick and give support some big credit for the most part. If you guys have never needed support or if you've never used them or don't even know really they exist, the support system for the most part, when you need stuff in game, they really are. I just want to give them some credit because they really are fantastic. In this case, I'll let you get back to it, Ryan, but I think this is obviously a much bigger case than them being able to reply to, obviously, right? But just to be clear, don't want to shit on the support guys at all. Support guys are fantastic.
And it's and what happened is not the support guys'
fault.
It's internal FDev policy, right? So we reported it on December 1st, 2018, and in that report, Tilt sent both screenshots of the hack as well as a full export of every channel available in that Discord, including private channels that you had to be added into. Everything that he was able to gain access to, he exported and sent in a zip file to FDev support. So they had basically all they needed. He gave them links to the website where you get to request access. He told them who all the main players are, which is fairly easy to figure out, even if you're not given that once you start looking at the chat logs. Sent all this to them in a package and said, basically, hey, wanted to make you guys aware of this. This is kind of a big deal. This is stuff that is not normally available in other hacks that you guys may already have access to. I already have access to this place. I think he used to make like RuneScape hacks and shit like that. So like he's he has a background in this stuff, and he basically said, if you guys don't have the bandwidth, I'm more than willing to download it and basically write a report for you and send it to you if you guys don't want to put in the time to do this. He thought it was that big of a deal. He was willing to basically do FDev's work for them if they didn't want to invest that time. So the reward for all of this was he got the boilerplate, oh, thanks for bringing this to attention. We'll forward it to our anti-cheat staff, about a day after he submitted it. And from that day until today, the hack is still active. They've had no service interruptions. No one's gotten banned for anything. Basically nothing has happened, which is kind of what what motivated us to go live with this, right? We gave them an opportunity. We reached out to FDev directly through their support. We reached out to both Will and Paige separately through Discord PMs, which they both acknowledged and sent replies to, and nothing. So we decided to go public with it because we thought that it was just kind of, I guess, getting into the second point that we wanted to cover, right? Which is, should we have gone public with this, or should we have just kind of shut up?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, absolutely, right? And I think that the way you just illustrated that absolutely answers that point. That's why I wanted you to go into that, Ryan, because these are the reasons that we finally brought this to the public masses, right? I mean, I know that I think I can speak for this entire group, and the reason we did this is we all believe that the light of truth is always the best path forward, right? Now, I think this would be a very different story if 6 months ago, the day after that you guys initiated all this, even the week after, I don't think it would have been as responsible at that point in time, right? Now that we're such a long time after, we have had major updates to the game. The Beyond Chapter 4's update has come out since then, right? There has been, in our opinion, what we believe a fair amount of time for Frontier to have addressed this from the technical side, and we'll chat more about this later, address it from the policy side. One thing I want to clarify, and then we'll move on to Plater, is you said something, a minute ago, you said something to the fact of no one's been banned for this. To clarify, did you mean none of the people that created it, or no one that has used it?
So I can't say for sure that nobody that has used it has been banned for it, right? It's entirely possible. But
we know a few examples like that. Rogio, whatever his name was, right? We know. Thank you. Yeah.
So basically, here's the situation, right? So SDC ran into something similar to this 3 years ago, and also 2 years ago when we ran our combat logging op and posted the results. We did kind of a similar thing, right? Where we put together, we got an alt, we had the alt combat log, we had that person get reported a couple times to see if anything happened, and nothing happened, right? So recently combat loggers have started getting popped for stuff, even if they're combat logging in solo. So that apparently has gotten fixed, or is in the process of being fixed. You don't normally find out when combat loggers eat bans because they're generally really cagey about letting people know that they've combat logged and they ate a temp ban for it. The reason I don't believe that anyone has actually been popped for this is because we still have access to the Discord, and they are very candid in there.
Yeah, I've seen the screenshots. Yeah,
because it's a private Discord. Why would you not be candid in a place that you think is secure?
Right.
No one has said anything about it. No one has said anything about getting banned, anything along those lines, that they've gotten temp bans. And so to clarify what the process is for the bans, first offense is a 3-day ban. Second offense
is a
month.
3-day ban to solo mode. Let's be clear there.
It's a 3-day ban to solo, a 1-month ban to solo, and then on the belief is, and the hack creators are not even sure of this themselves, whether it's the third or after the third time you're punished, they say ban to solo, but I believe it is a shadow ban. So the difference is ban to solo means you can still affect the galaxy, right? You can still do BGS, you can still do a bunch of different things. A shadow ban means you cannot interact meaningfully with the Elite Universe anymore.
I didn't know that was capable.
I believe it is a shadow ban.
I didn't even realize that was even possible, to be perfectly blunt with you.
Yeah, it's possible. Absolutely.
And let me ask you why do you have any actual technical acknowledgement from Frontier on that, or is that just kind of your gut? I'm not trying to call you out. I'm
know,
just trying to get clarification.
So
yeah.
I know people that were banned for trying to gain access to private group ganking.
Okay.
And they ate permabans on their account, and those were shadow bans. You can play the game, you can play it in solo, but you can have no effect on the universe itself.
Okay, I'll admit, if that's the case, that makes me, in some of these ways, that makes me a lot less upset with the policy of going to solo, right? I've been under the assumption that is not the case, right?
And so there's no formal communication on it. So it's all
the other problem.
On my part, right?
And there's the other problem, obviously.
Exactly.
Well, Plater, I'm going to kick into Plater next. Why don't you take it with your thoughts if you want to talk about like the impact on, where the impact, because a lot of that, and I tried to be very focused on this in my video. I know Obsidian Ant did as well. Ryan changed his post a little bit to this thing too. I want to dispel the perception that this only matters to the PvP community. Yes, it does matter to the PvP community, great, and more than likely greater than others, but it absolutely should have mattered to just about everyone, certainly anyone that plays in open. Now, what Ryan just said about Shadowban might potentially change some of this, but Plater, why don't you talk about like the impacts, the potential BGS impacts and to your normal player kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I just want to quickly mention something that Ryan mentioned there with regarding to the shadow ban. So essentially, you're not having anything to do with the BGS essentially and the background sim. Now, the thing is that a lot of people, when Elite Dangerous was launched, they wanted a solo mode. And that's what was promised, so that you would be able to play online and play solo, so you could have no interaction with anyone whatsoever and not affect anyone else's game at all. Now, a shadow ban almost essentially does that, which means that it could be possible to have that game mode for these people and have almost like a sandbox mode.
Sure.
Which is kind of a sudden thought there. It's like that's a huge gap in potential player base that's could be attracted there, and it's something that maybe should be considered as a more formal.
Well, I'll admit.
These people
that's why my gut. I'm not sure I buy that in the sense of I would want something more formal saying that that's accurate, right? I'm not saying you're wrong, Ryan, or anything like that, but I would want to know more because you're right, Plater. That would be. I've had several people in my chat even asked, "How do I get shadow banned?" Right? Like, I that's what I want to do. So
if you want to, so the people that want to get shadow banned, go ahead and PM me. And I can put you to work.
Yeah, there we go.
The best time to do this was before Distant World started. I could have got a lot of work done for you.
So sorry, Plater. I just wanted to toss that in real quick.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to briefly mention that because it was a thought there. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, well, a lot of people wanted just a solo mode.
Yep.
But talking about the BGS mainly, I guess, from a faction leader. It's a real big concern that someone could potentially use one of these tools to undermine all the work you have done. We're in multiple systems, have control over them, and someone could literally wreck that by using some of these hacks, going somewhere and just nuking anything that moves with your name on it. And if someone's doing it legit, that's cool. It's a BGS attack. But if someone's just obviously using one of these hacks, and then you might attempt to try and get involved or prevent it, and then you get wiped out as well, and there's nothing you can do. This whole kind of God mode toggle switch is certainly something that should not be remotely possible in a game like Elite Dangerous, especially a game where it is online, and this is the main thing that I really tried to focus on in my video, is the fact that it isn't just PvPers who are being affected by this. Sure, they are, and they're going to be the ones who gather examples. I know Harry has got examples. I've had examples sent to me by the members of the PvP community as well. And you see the examples, that's because you guys have more interaction with players on an aggressive basis than anyone else. And that's when these things really come to light.
Well, and you also can't get a screenshot or a video of somebody who's cheating all by themselves or playing in solo or private. It's just it's not possible. Right.
We've got one of those, don't worry.
Well, yeah, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, I can't get video of somebody else cheating when they're playing by themselves, right? To players' point. Yeah.
But I mean, the whole kind of, like I say, the BGS thing, BGS does affect near enough every aspect of the game if you're someone who just runs missions or even wants to sell your Void Opal Hall, because it will affect prices. faction states will affect prices, as well as they'll affect what missions are available to you.
Plater, why don't you very
And
quickly,
that's a very big thing.
we're making a little bit of assumption maybe here with some of the audience. Explain what BGS is. Like let's not assume that folks know that acronym or even know what we're talking about.
So BGS is the background simulation. This is essentially the way that all the different factions in the game kind of interact. It's how your missions get generated, it's how your conflict zones appear, it's how your void opal price is affected, it's all of these things, and it does have quite a large impact on what type of missions are made available. So whether it be hey, go and do these skimmer missions, or you might have bounty hunt, assassinations, conflict zones, or at the same time there may be different passenger missions made available to you as well. For example, you might have large quantities of refugees that need transporting, for example, if the system states war. And all of these things also influence materials being dropped, or materials being spawned in signal sources. So you won't always get the same signal sources that appear in, a war state versus an investment state. They're very, very, very different. You'll get different things that pop up in there. And so basically the background simulation isn't so background after all, it's directly influenced by players and player actions. So if you want to lower the security of a system and you want to have an effect there and put it into lockdown, you can go on a full-on murder spree, destroy any NPC that you see that's clean, and that will of course have an issue and have an effect, a knock-on, and reduce that element of the BGS. And
we're just back. Hold on, I just want to make me we're back. Sorry. Okay, I think I'm back, folks. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what that was.
You're down again.
I just hit restart, so refresh it now.
Okay.
Again, sorry for the technical. Don't know what that was, but yeah, somebody said live stream's being hacked. Right. So
FDev just killed it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, great. Yeah, stream's been shadow banned. Forgive me. That happens again. We'll jump in. But yeah, back to I think Plater or Potter had the floor.
Yeah, I was just going to say another thing that to mention in there is, of course, player factions. So that's especially important. Someone could literally use it to make a direct attack on someone's player faction, and there's nothing you can do about it, which is potentially months of hard work down the drain. It's months hard work being the gameplay that you've enjoyed doing.
Right. And to keep this going along, why don't we jump to DM? I know that Canonn has a very very strong policy on this sort of stuff, just in general. If you want, why don't you talk a little bit about that? Also, in terms of you guys' policy about dipping into the game code, if you want, and then the effect that you would think it would have on a group like Canonn, which and tell the folks about what Canonn is, because for those that don't know, Canonn has an extremely high reputation, equal if not basically equal to the Fuel Rats, which is one of the highest regarded communities in all gaming, actually. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously for those of that have flown with us, Canonn has always maintained an extremely strict, we follow the rules type of gameplay. We typically frown upon stuff like combat logging and file dipping, which for those of you don't know, is basically digging through the game files to try and uncover the sciencey secrets. And Canonn in and of itself is solely focused on the science of the game, the Guardians, the Thargoids, all the unknown stuff, biological, geological, planet stuff, the Lagrange clouds that just came out in 3.3. So while some of the more combat-focused hacks may not directly affect us, my fear is that if these type of gameplay mechanics can easily be hacked, what's to say that this won't affect the science side of things? What's to say that someone couldn't insta-drop to a 300,000 light-second planet and just start searching, and they start claiming all the firsts on stuff? A lot of our players, they get their enjoyment out of the game from finding things and being the first one to put their name on it, and it's like these hackers are essentially taking the fun out of it. And to play off what some of the others have said too is, if shadow bans are how things function, if they do lock themselves out and they can't affect BGS or general other gameplay, that doesn't stop them from ruining the science side of things. I mean, if there's a hack that allows someone to be able to pull where everything is in the system minus the codex and just, you know, instantly be able to put their name on stuff, shadow ban doesn't stop that. So in my opinion, I don't think shadow banning should be a thing at all. I think these people should be perm banned, and if they really wanted to get back into the game, they should be paying more money for it only to get banned again. Couple other things that were mentioned too was I actually agree with the way STC handled things. Obviously, most of us in here, we all come from a technical background, especially when it comes to things like bug bounties, where if someone discovers a 0-day, we contact that company and give them a certain set of time, whether it be a month, whether it be 6 months, whatever, to fix this stuff. And then we basically say, you have until this time, and then we're going public with it. If you don't fix it by then, you will certainly fix it when people start using the 0-day.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, essentially, yes, us talking about this could potentially cause more of these hackers to arise, but at the same time, we're forcing Frontier's hand to say, look, we don't want this anymore, and it needs to stop. And the only way that we're going to get you to do that is to be public about it. For those of us that have been with EDCD, the third-party developers did the same thing. We were not getting the recognition and communication lines that we wanted to get from Frontier, and we basically said, look, we need a line of communication. And the only way that we got that was having a blackout day, shutting down all of our tools for, I think it lasted maybe 7-8 hours or something like that.
I didn't think it was that
Frontier
long.
told us,
Yeah. So they begged.
But before Frontier told us to turn them all back up. And it's like, what the heck? I mean, I get it. Frontier are busy. They have plans. They have their policies. But at the same time, it's like, come on.
Well, and nobody wants to, you know, they want it, and well, this is arguable. They want to focus on new content or bug fixes for old content. Again, that's arguable. But nobody wants to have to deal with virus protection, right? Like, you know, you don't want to play with that kind of shit. You don't want to deal with these people that are causing extra work that... If everybody just played nice, we wouldn't have to do this. But unfortunately, that's not the realities of humanity, right?
Yeah.
It's just not how people
exactly.
are. If I can now... Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead, DM. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to kick it to over to Harry to talk about... I've seen a couple people in the chat, and I think we should also clarify what these hacks do. Now, again, we're riding the line here of, you know, telling more people about these amazing things that you can do with these hacks. And of course, shit, it'd be great. Like, I'm jumping 7,000 light years right now. Boy, it'd be nice to do that in one jump, which I could do. But you know, that. So let's talk a little bit about the hacks in a non-combat way, because there are a lot of ways to use these in non-combat situations.
Yeah, there really is. Actually, before we blew the can on all of these hacks, I was in the Elite Dangerous Discord, and someone pinged me with a screenshot in another Discord of a guy who was mining. He's just minding his own business, just mining. But what he didn't realize was he had posted a picture of himself cheating. And what it was, he's in a T9, and he's in the middle of a resource extraction site mining, just doing his thing, just PvE, and he's not mass locked because he's using a no mass lock cheat, so he can jump out of that ring at any point, whether an NPC attacks him or a player attacks him. And the cheats have got to, like, people think the cheats are just PvP centric, and a lot of them are, like,
shields and weapons and sure.
Yeah, a lot of them are PvP centric, but they've got to such a point where they're being used for such mundane tasks like mining. I want to jump out of a ring because it's more convenient. I want to drop a Hutton orbital after dropping into this. Just really random crap like that they're being used for. And as others have said, you know, they could be used to make first discoveries that other players wouldn't be able to do. Like, I remember back in the day when the jump hacks were first a thing, there were people jumping really far above and below the galactic plane, claiming sites that you just wouldn't be able to see unless Frontier moved you. And I mean, obviously they were obviously banned and they were very obvious to detect, but you know, it's the same sort of stuff. If you've got a shred of evidence as to something that might point to something that no one's ever found before, all you've got to
Here, you cut out there.
Yep.
Oh my
We lost
God,
you for a
keep
sec there.
doing this.
We lost you for a sec right at the
Well,
end here. We've got you back now.
As I was saying, people could just boot these cheats up and be the first person to find some of these amazing things in game. Like, people complain that there's no content, but the bits of content that there is, these people are effectively stealing it from the rest of the players that are playing legit. Like, because I've been part of Canonn, you know, since almost day one, we had a term for searching on planets before we got the probes, known as, I think they called it yogurting or something like that, where you turn your ship upside down and you just go forward, turn FA off, and you just look up, and you do that for hours on end, just skimming the planet. And these people, they've got the tools to just either file dip or use cheats. They could just go find stuff, and they have done it in the past. They have ruined it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can confirm that there have been leaks of things long before any of us would have found them.
Yeah, and not the fun leaks.
When was it?
Right?
It was like this was like maybe a year or so ago when they launched. They added some new Thargoid stuff, and literally day one, it had already been discovered. And I think that was the guy that was file dipping.
Yeah, more than likely. Like, there's so much emergent content that can come out of finding stuff naturally. Like, I remember when the first barnacle was found, that was caused by me and another French guy. We were ganking people in the Maya area, and we were chasing this dude, this French guy in DBX, I think it was. And he went down to the planet to avoid being interdicted, and he just happened to stumble on the barnacle, the first one that was found. And one of the devs came out and said that was one of the harder ones to find, and it was found completely by accident.
Yeah.
Like, you miss out on moments like that when they ruin it like this. And I don't think Frontier take a hard enough stance against people that ruin it for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like, people think, like, you know, players like me are assholes, and yeah, we are to a limited degree, but we're not taking away.
You're a tremendous.
Yeah, I have my moments, but like, the fact that just one person can take away from the entire community in just one go for absolutely no reason, and it doesn't matter what your playstyle is, you get affected by it. It doesn't matter your game mode, you know, your choice or whatever, it affects you. You can hide in solo from me, but you can't hide in solo from players like this. They'll get you in some way.
That's right. And again, trying to point out to everybody, you know, get across to everybody how this is not just combat. This is not just PvP that is impacted, right? And I think that's, you know, I think what people, it's hard for people to see that, right? Clapton, why don't you talk to us about the fuel rats policy and this kind of stuff, how it affects you guys, you know, as again one of the highest regarded groups in all of gaming, not just in Elite, right? Oh, Clapton, are you muted? There you go.
Hello?
We got you now.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep.
So, one moment.
No, you're all right. We can proceed on if you need a few minutes.
Sorry about that. I
That's
had
okay.
someone come in right as I was about to talk.
No problem.
Anyway, so yeah, as far as the fuel rats are concerned, we are taking a very strict stance on this. If us moderators catch you cheating and we have absolute proof for it, be it a fuel rat or one of our clients that call in, you can definitely expect an instant ban from us. Rats will definitely get perma'd with probably no recourse to come back in. As for the overall effects of us, it really doesn't affect our day-to-day as much as it would the kind of the long game. There was a point that was brought up somewhere along the line that cheating like this absolutely erodes the already eroding trust in open play. And as a group that is almost forced to work exclusively in open play, you know, we may someday see new players come in knowing about the dangers of open play and absolutely refuse to come in. And while private groups work, it doesn't really work as a standard for us because it just takes too long to get everyone into a private group and conduct these operations. We service probably 60, 70 people a day on a good day, and we do not have the time to do that kind of thing. So that's as far as the fuel rats are concerned. You know, ultimately, how it's going to affect us in the long term is when the game dies, we die, and that's going to be the same for everyone. But
yeah, I mean, and you guys are
but I would
such a
hope it
critical
would not
group.
get to that point.
Well, and and I said at the top of this, I think we should also be clear, and I don't think this either. This is not the death of the game. This is not, and I've gotten that comment from a few people. Now, this could be. I'm not going to go so far as to say the death of the game, but it could be long term.
No.
If we're sitting here 6 months from now still talking about this, and this is still an issue, that would be significantly terrible for the game, right?
I would agree.
Yeah.
As far as you'd asked me about mining, because I do a fair bit myself. So what a lot of people don't understand about mining and especially like deep core and stuff like that, those resources are all shared. They're all instanced. Once it's gone out of a ring, it's gone. Is there still regen? Is there still a slow regen on that?
As I understood it, it gets refreshed at the tick overs. But somebody correct me on that if that's. I'm not going to say that's. I'm not swearing to that.
But
that's
it's definitely not a 100% refresh. You're not going to see a depleted go up to pristine overnight.
I think that's correct. Yes.
Yeah. It's a very slow regen. And that's actually one of the reasons why deep core mining is not being nerfed, is because of the fact that they bank on the fact that once they're depleted, it's going to force us out of the bubble to collect the same level of resources we are collecting within the bubble right now. And cheaters cheating to get void opals to farm money, if you're partaking in that kind of thing, they're taking away from your experience as a miner simply because of the fact that they are taking away those resources in a very unfair way, or in a very unfair way to everyone else, and they can do so in solo with no recourse. So that's another huge problem.
Sure.
I 100% agree with that one. I was going to say, I'll jump
No,
in.
I was going to say, take it.
Yeah, but it's 100% agree on that one, and that comes down to, again, kind of a little bit on the BGS. Now, I did have a question from my chat, which was aimed at Harry, which was regarding AX gameplay.
Oh,
and how potentially these hacks could affect that, which I think is actually quite an interesting aspect for it. So, if you want to.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been any screenshots, because we do have screenshots of pretty much all like 15 pages of the new cheat, which I described it as looking like a dev tool because it's insanely extensive. But one of the cheats that are on there is the ability to have normal weaponry deal AX. So you could, in theory, I've not seen anything that would suggest you could do this, and I've obviously not used the cheats myself, but if the cheats are to be believed, you could make, say, an FDL with use standard 5.
Oh, Harry, we're losing you again.
Oh, you cut out there.
Oh my god, this...
It's okay. You're back now.
I start again. So, as I was saying, with these cheats, if they're to be believed, you could take your standard 5 multi-cannon FDL that you would take into PvP, and you could have it do AX damage. And obviously, since you can engineer normal multi-cannons, you've got some crazy damage. You could then crank up the armor piercing, and before you know it, you're mowing down Hydras left and right like they're nothing. So, in a way, you could cheat in AX combat if you really wanted to. I mean, people are cheating in mining. There's no reason they wouldn't do it in AX combat as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost no aspect of the game you couldn't employ these cheats in.
No, these are that extensive that, like I said, they look like debug tools to me. They're that extensive. They've got guides and everything for them. It's insane.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to chime in on is the radar cheats. That's one I found really interesting. The fact that Frontier have said in the past that they couldn't, because the game works on a single color matrix, so if you change the matrix, everything changes.
Yeah.
And they said that the radar and everything else was all part of one matrix, so that you couldn't have, say, for people who are colorblind, they couldn't have a custom radar with custom HUD colors. It was one, it was all a one. That was it, as simple as that. But these cheats have proved that they're different, that they can actually be altered, so you could have red hostiles, green allies, with a blue HUD. You can't do that with the current changes.
That's right. I've even had a number of people on my video comment say, hey, could they release a cheat that just modified the HUD. And I mean, yeah, that'd be cool, but at the same token, that would still absolutely violate the terms of service and opens a huge can of worms. But to Harry's point, yeah, like, and I would, if I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate on their side, I'm guessing what that comes down to is it's not possible to do that on the consoles, and so they're trying to keep that code base consistent. If you can't do it on one, you can't do it on the others, kind of thing. Now, I think we've all said for years, if they turned on that type of functionality, and even if they sold like different colored HUDs and skins and stuff in the store, people would fucking pay for that. People want to customize their HUDs so badly, right?
Oh yeah, like, I mean, based on the way they currently expose the current matrix, there's no reason they couldn't detach everything and just have it exposed in a setting. Like, we already go through the settings file to change this stuff. Just expose the rest of it. That's all you got to do.
So I'd like to chime in on that one real quick.
Please.
Back on the point of, they were saying it was impossible. How long ago were they saying that? Because the way I'm just kind of trying to play devil's advocate for FD here, it's very possible that at one point in time it was completely coupled to the main color matrix.
That's true.
And with the changes to the UI, because we have been seeing some pretty drastic changes, new UI elements and stuff like that over time, it's very possible that, changes have been made in place to where it's no longer the case. And no one's probably asked for clarification from the developers, and it's,
See, here's the thing for me, right? So let's say it wasn't possible in the past, right? Changing UI colors, I would be willing to say, has to be the single most requested change in the history of the game.
It's
and
way
I mean, that's
up
probably
there.
pretty constant.
Yeah.
Right? I can't think of anything else that's
universally
more requested.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they can change it because they did for the scanning.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about.
Yep.
This is what we were just talking about while you were gone, Ryan. Yeah. Sorry, Clapton, please.
I do believe that at some point in time, I have heard some things where FDev intends to eventually start selling ship themes, and we don't know to the extent of that, if it's just going to be recolor packages or stuff like that, or if it's going to be an actual like different UI kind of themes. We don't know.
And are you alluding
the intent is to eventually do some sort of UI theming.
And by UI theming, are we
man,
talking about
people
different HUDs per manufacturer per ship? Is that what you're getting at?
No. That's
Okay.
what I'm trying to say. I don't know if that's what the extent of it. The rumor is that eventually they want to get to a point where they can start selling ship themes.
Well,
That's all we know.
if that's true, we know it won't be colors, because if Frontier, they've already let us do custom colors. If they then lock that away through a microtransaction,
Oh man, yeah.
They kind of stole it.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly. That wouldn't fly.
But themes, as someone who absolutely loves microtransactions in this game and buys pretty much everything they throw out, as long as I think it's good, I don't buy their crap. But like, I love the microtransactions in this. No, I don't buy everything. Don't do that. I don't buy everything.
Don't you have that pink Corvette pack or whatever it is?
Yes.
I
like them. I like them.
Yeah, we definitely shouldn't go down the list of who's spent the most on the game in whole. That's.
But
probably...
to be fair,
No.
To be fair, Harry has notoriously poor taste, anyways. That's what his favorite movie is.
Oh, that's unfair though. That's not, we're talking about ship themes here. But look,
Independence Day.
If they did
that's
custom
rough.
HUD colors, if they did custom HUD themes, I would happily pay for that. Independence Day is also a good show, so.
But I mean, like
Okay.
he's putting that above like The Godfather.
Yeah, that I can't get on board with. Fun film, maybe, right? Let's see. Where were we? Plater, did I have you up next? Yeah, Plater, why don't you talk about like the on the side of it, like talk a little bit maybe about we've touched on this a touch, but maybe some of the other non-combat stuff, or maybe we beat that
sure.
up.
So and it's gonna. I just want to make this super clear when I'm talking about these things. I'm not saying they are good, and I'm not saying that people should do them or even want them. Got to get that out of the way, because otherwise,
Yeah, no,
someone will say you're promoting it.
Absolutely.
And so the non-combat stuff, we've got some of the hacks available will allow you to jump ridiculously far. And that's using your frame shift drive. You can also reduce the amount of fuel consumption on it, and that's obviously on your normal space and your jump as well, which again increases potential for how far you can jump, how much you can do, even weight and stuff like that. You might think that just tweaking one little thing, you're like, oh, I'm just going to be just changing how much fuel's used. It won't affect anything at all, except it will increase the speed at which you're able to travel and get places.
That's right.
Also, you've got cheats in there that will allow you to essentially turn on a dime, which is absolutely ridiculous from a combat point of view, and from just flying around. If you can just suddenly turn super fast, and whether that be avoiding crashing into an asteroid because you're not a very good pilot, we've all done it. Something like that even is a very simple thing, and something Harry mentioned was the ability to not be mass locked. Now that has repercussions from as soon as you leave a station, you're off. You frame shift out of there, or if you're mining and you're in a ring, again you don't have to worry about that. And those kinds of things where you may think, okay, well that's rather. Well, it's just convenience thing. Well, it's not just a convenience thing at all, because as we've already said, I think we've drummed this in pretty well. Everything that you do in Elite Dangerous has wide and varying effects on everyone else. Drop a stone in a pond, it ripples out, and that's exactly what the BGS does. I think people kind of do need to bear that in mind. There's a lot of things in there that can have wide-reaching effects. But yeah, the ability to jump miles, get to where people can't, get discoveries before anyone else, and all that kind of stuff. And it could be used as a ganking tool, I'm sure. But I'm gonna kind of have a guess with Harry and Ryan when it comes to turning up and blowing someone up. It's the satisfaction of doing it properly that you get, rather than
where's the fun in cheating?
Cheat or anything like that.
I mean, ganking's so easy. There's no need to cheat.
Yeah.
To be honest, like if you were to cheat at just ganking, not like straight PvP, just ganking. No, I don't know that it would be materially different, right? Because the name of the game in ganking is attacking a target, like the Art of War, right? You don't attack an enemy that has a chance to beat you, like in standard like battle, right? You want to attack the weakest part of your enemy, right? You don't go like, I'm not gonna walk up to the mountain from fucking Game of Thrones and challenge him to do a fucking fist fight, right? I know I'm gonna get my shit pushed in. I'm gonna get a sniper rifle. I'm gonna sit a quarter mile away and I'm gonna pop him when he takes a piss, right? Ganking, it doesn't make a big deal, but the biggest impact, at least as far as our game, is for PvP, is just the doubt that it puts over every encounter, right? While most of the visible hacking when it comes to combat is blatantly obvious, right? Shields that are invincible that never go down, condas that boost 600 meters a second and run down lightweight FDLs, condas that have station guns. These are all things that we have all experienced. Those are things that I have personally experienced. Those are easy to find, right? But imagine if a good PvPer ran those hacks, how long they could go without being undetected, right? Without maxing everything.
Yeah.
You put 5% here, so you're a little bit faster than you normally would be. Let's say you're running a heavy FDL and you make your thrusters able to boost you to 570, right? That's within the normal realm, right? No one would catch you on that probably, right? Or your power plant, you're running overcharged PAs, right? Your power plant normally wouldn't be able to power that, but you max out the power and max out the thermal efficiency so you can actually use them and your ship won't cook, right? Unless you were to show your build in game, no one will call you out on it, right? It seems it's within the realm of possibility.
That's right. Yeah.
Or you give yourself infinite, you give yourself 10 or 20% stronger shields. So maybe they think that you're just really good at pit managing, right? Now imagine all of those things combined together on someone that knows what they're doing and is actually decent at the game. they could potentially be the best PvPer in the game, and no one would ever know that they were cheating because it's almost impossible to catch. And PvP kind of requires some level of trust between you and the person that you're fighting, right? That they're not going to be cheating. That if they lose the fight, like it's a wing fight, that they're not going to come back, right? All of those things are very reliant on the trust, and this kind of undermines that trust because now you don't know who could potentially be doing that or what kind of things they could be running in the background.
Yeah, excellent point. And I think, I would expand on that just briefly and say that not only does it put a question mark on those encounters, it really can put a question mark on any aspect of the game. And I've seen it already, it become the new excuse meta, right? Oh, well, he beat me, he's got to have been cheating, right? Or this player group is taking over our faction, they've got to be cheating, right? And all of a sudden, now it's going to be this blanket accusation that's going to come against people, right? And for certainly everybody that's sitting on this panel today, we take these kind of things exceedingly seriously, right? If somebody's going to accuse me of cheating in this, that's not something that I fuck around about or find funny, right? That would be something that is, not only just from my personal, I'm not a cheat, don't call me a cheat, right? But a lot of us sitting here have viewers, we have subscribers, we have a community we've developed, and we have a reputation we've developed. Some of us positive, some of us not so. That we want to maintain, right? And so that's another reason we wanted to pull this group together, was so that it's a unified position from everyone. It doesn't matter if you're somebody who role plays an asshole and wants to just shoot people, or if you're somebody who role plays the nicest, most helpful guy in the whole galaxy. All of us universally think this is horrible for the game.
Yeah.
So I have firsthand experience with that. Canonn has always been under the gun, as we've always been accused of multiple things: file dipping, working with FDev, you name it. The first Guardian structure or Guardian ruins that was ever found, I think it was like XX Death or something like that. Everyone was claiming that he was file dipping or he was hacking to find it, because no one in their right mind could look at stellar charts to be able to figure it out from a trailer video. Whether or not that's true or not, Canonn has always maintained that we are open, and we don't condone, we don't participate, none of it. If anyone even says the word file dipping in our Discord, it's almost an instant permaban. That's how strict we are on it. And I don't see any benefit to FDev in allowing this stuff to continue.
Yeah, just to put it mildly, right? Well, why don't we, unless somebody's got, because I did want us to keep this relatively brief, right? So that this would be a short enough stream that later on people could catch up on it. People could watch this without it being a 2-3 hour conversation. Plus, we don't need to beat all of this to death. So if there's something that you guys haven't, as we close out here, if there's something that hasn't popped up that you want to interject, please do. But why don't we start from the top? We'll go down. We'll let Plater kind of finish us out. Maybe talk about where you hope this would go, like what you see as maybe potential solutions, and just that sort of stuff. Your final kind of closing thoughts, Clapton. If I could put you on the spot, do you want to kick us off with that?
I don't really have a lot of closing thoughts. I think everything I really had to say was summarized up what I said before. We'll see how this goes 6 months down the line. I hope we don't have to come back again and point out that nothing has been done. I really hope we don't have to do another stream like this anytime soon, or within the foreseeable future, because going forward we need to all take a good stance and realize that cheating affects us whether you realize it or not. It's not always going to be apparent, and the more people that understand that, the more people that are going to get behind this idea that cheaters need to go. Just one last thing I'd like to point out. Do we want to talk about voice attack and stuff like that?
I was going to have somebody, so yes, please go right ahead. I wanted somebody to bring that up. You go right ahead.
Well, you have the you have the comments, so.
Yes,
how
okay.
about we let you do that?
Yeah, quickly,
Yeah.
I'll go to that and then we'll continue on.
We lost
his
you.
So,
screen-
nope. I'm back. Sorry, my machine froze for just a second there. Sorry. I'm back. Let's make sure I'm all good. Forgive me. I had a couple people, specifically in Reddit, and maybe even a couple comments on my video, essentially trying to say that using something like voice attack would be cheating as well, right? That, it's a third-party app. If you're using macros and things like that, that's cheating, right? Well, I believe that's absurd, and reached out to support and to Will as well, as did Plater today, to clarify, hey, if this is cheating, we need to know how to handle it. How do you report people? Like, I need to tell people this because I even have a tutorial teaching people how to do voice attack macros for things like pip management. And they clarified that no, they don't consider that. I can't remember the exact quote. In fact, I'll find it here in a minute, maybe, and post it from Will. But they don't consider voice attack a problem. We discussed it some, and there was some more back and forth about it. When you're using voice attack or any tool for something automated, and what I mean by that is, and there are some profiles that'll do this, you take a hit to your shields, and the voice attack or an app responds by immediately putting full pips into systems. You pull your trigger, voice attack or the app puts everything into weapons. You boost, everything goes to engines, and so it's automatically reacting to things that are happening in the game that you aren't necessarily initiating. Is a very different thing than if you're using a pip macro where I'm actively saying, okay, put all pips and systems and 2 in weapons, all pips and weapons 2 in systems, and I'm manually doing that, and I'm just using voice attack to essentially execute those keystrokes for me, just like in the same way if you request docking, voice attack is executing those keystrokes. So it is good that Frontier, very quickly acknowledged that no, they do not have any issue with that. That does not violate the terms of service. So anybody that thinks that is anywhere close to the same level we're discussing today, in short, it is not.
I do have one addition
Please,
to that, however.
please, you're next anyway, so go right ahead.
Okay, I'll talk about that, and then I'll do
Sure.
my finishing stuff.
Sure.
So, in my opinion, there would be a way to monitor it's called the status.json file, which records some live data as you're playing. But there could be a way in which someone could monitor the damage incoming and automatically move the pips without initiating any kind of keystroke or voice command. To me, I think that would be an equal level of hacking to what we've been talking about, and
I
not
agree.
on the level of voice attack.
Yep.
Well,
I would give you
that's
that
what
too.
we were saying before. That script already exists.
Oh, well, okay. It goes to show you, I have not even looked at these hacks, so
Yeah.
my experience with them is low.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
as to my closing stuff, when it comes to how can FDev fix this, I don't know how technical you want me to be, but I'll-
General, we've got a pretty technical
Okay.
audience, I would assume, so we don't have to go into great detail, right?
To put it simply, when it comes to netcode, there are 3 different types of connections. You have P2P, player to player, P2S, player to server, and hybrid. Most games are hybrid nowadays, and Elite is also a hybrid. It leans more towards the P2P stuff when it comes to like PvP, like damages and shields and speeds and things like that, because there's just too much data for Frontier to handle player to server and then server to the other players. It's too much bandwidth. In my opinion, the easiest way to fix this is Elite needs to call home more. If someone's boosting to 600 and that is way above the limits of what an Anaconda can do, it's like, okay, the ship shouldn't be doing this, boot them.
Obvious
Just
red
kick
flag.
them off the server.
Yeah.
It's an obvious red flag. And who's not to say that FDev isn't monitoring this, but is not actively monitoring it or even actively booting players for, exceeding a certain limit or whatever. Obviously, if something like, I don't know how many people ever played like way back in the day with like StarCraft 1. It was called the Warden, which basically watched for like memory hacks and stuff. But if the Warden caught you, it instantly kicked you off the server. There was no employee action. It was just an automated system. After a certain amount of kicks, you got temp banned. After a certain amount of temp bans, you got perm banned. In my opinion, Frontier needs something like the Warden or Valve anti-cheat or etc. it's something that monitors what's going on in the host system as much as I will advocate against that, and actively sends the data to an automated system that just starts booting players if they exceed certain limits.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to explain it, right? If we'll keep cracking on, Harry, you want to do you have any closing thoughts? Anything else you wanted to point out?
Yeah, mine. I think a lot of people will agree with this, but for me, I think it's a two-stage issue. Frontier need to be more transparent and more forward with their community in explaining what constitutes a cheat, what constitutes a something that breaks the rules. Like, we're having this discussion over pit macros and macros in general. Like, okay, voice tech can be considered a macro system, just as AHK can be considered a macro system.
Sure.
So why is one okay and one's a gray area? Why can't they just come out and say, this is okay, this isn't, obviously don't cheat? They don't do anything of the sort. They just say, well, if you break terms of service, then you're going to get banned. But the problem is, most of us aren't lawyers. We can't read terms of service and be like, yes, I understand exactly what is meant by that, because they're inherently vague on purpose so that they have wiggle room. But they could easily come out and say, if you use this pit macro, you're good. If you use cheats, nope, you'll get banned. They could just do something like that. But then the cheats themselves, it would be nice if they just didn't trust the client so much. Because back in the day when you saw an anaconda boost in 600 meters a second, that's an obvious cheat. Frontier know what their limits are for their engineered ships, because Sandro has said on stream that when you roll a module, say take drives for example, when you roll drives, you're not rolling on your client. You're telling the server you want to roll grade 5 dirty drives. This is what you have. And then the server will roll it, and then it will spit back what you actually got, and then it will play the animation. But once that's done, there's no further checks to say, well, has this increased at any point during their play session? Have they logged off with drives that started off as 146 and now they're 172, which, hang on a minute, that's well beyond the 146 limit. The moment you check like that, you can start catching people. And for all we know, as others have said, they could possibly be doing that and we're not aware of it. But the fact of the matter is, regardless of what they're doing, they're not cracking down on it.
Yeah, agreed. Ryan, closing thoughts? Anything else you wanted to throw in?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that the main thing that I want to leave people with is that this impacts literally every facet of the game. Whether or not you PvP, whether or not you BGS, whether or not you do power play, the possibility is there for your game to be impacted in a very negative manner, and there's nothing you can do about it because FDev is choosing not to do anything about it. As we have in SDC have discovered multiple times, FDev doesn't do anything until they're shamed into doing it. Unfortunately, we've had to do this multiple times with multiple issues when engineers dropped and heat weapons were imbalanced. They refused to touch them for 6 or 7 months until we started killing people with them. When healing was discovered to be unbalanced, they didn't do anything until we started killing people inside of stations by using healing weapons to keep ourselves alive. And then even when they fixed them, they didn't really fix them. The fix there was to increase station defenses. Premium ammo used to be permanent if you added it to a weapon and followed a specific process. That didn't get fixed until we shamed FDev. Combat logging, we had to do it twice until they finally started doing something about it. So FDev's pattern of behavior here is when something crazy happens, just ignore it until it becomes an issue. And then once Eurogamer does an article about it, now we'll actually go and do something about it, which is, it's very disheartening because, I mean, shit, what was it, a month ago when they rolled out the drag munition changes?
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. No discussion with the community about it. No one was aware of it. No one had asked for it. They roll out this change, and it was complete fucking anarchy and rebellion until FDev decided to say, "Oh, yep, we fucked up. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fix this now." Right? But in the future, we might do something about it too. Right? So I just hope that it's enough to actually motivate FDev to solve a problem that they really should have been solving this entire time. And it's actually kind of scary that a hack can go undetected in this game for 6 months, even when it has been specifically reported by name and given chat logs of the server that they're developing it in. It's really disheartening to see.
Well, and to expand on that, and I'll finish out with this, and then we'll let Plater actually close us out. Is, let's also be clear that while these hacks started, like the ones we're talking about was published. One of the ones we're talking about, at least, was published in July of 2018. All right. Hacks like this have existed in Elite for longer than that. It's just that this current one that is so incredibly powerful and that has come to widespread attention, even starting to become widespread before we brought this to light, right? This is not new. This is not something that just popped up last week, right? So this is something that we felt like was given enough time to address in some way and wasn't. And the thing, we've talked a little bit about how they could address it technically. DM gave gave some great examples of the way the game works now, and we all respect that there are technical challenges here that take time for them to work out, right? I'm not expecting a fix for this tomorrow or next week, right? I think that's a little bit, unrealistic, right? But where I want to take this, we haven't talked a bunch about, is Frontier's policy toward it and how they deal with people once they are caught. And we can debate times when maybe it's not clear. Ryan talked a lot about how you can barely upgrade your ship, which is the not the less dumb way to cheat, right? And that's hard to catch. But the ones where there absolutely no question, the examples I used in my video where you've got multiple ships plowing away at somebody and they're not taking a bit of damage, right? Clearly they're cheating, right? Is the fact that the policy now is the first offense is a 3-day ban to solo. I'm going to assume for the sake of this that what we talked about at the beginning here about shadow ban, I'm going to assume for a moment that that's not the case and that you still in solo are affecting the galaxy. So your first offense is a 3-day ban to solo. Your second offense is a 1-month ban to solo. And then your third offense is finally a full ban to solo, which, by the way, we've seen people be reported in using these for many days, and then very quickly after they were getting banned and stuff. So it's not like, my point is, I would like to see them take a much firmer stance, right? I don't have maybe so much of a problem with a first chance, right? With a first, okay, you fucked up, we're going to give you this ban if it's a week, a month, whatever it is, right? I kind of have issues with that because you don't accidentally use these cheats. You don't accidentally install this and fire things up, right? But if you give somebody that first chance, all right, I'll give you that. But 3 chances all the way to finally you still can play the game. Now, this is bullshit, man. I mean, I get it's difficult to, somebody paid us $60 and now we're saying you can't even use this product anymore. But you know what? If you read the terms of service, it is very clear. We have all seen multiple examples of companies. What was it? Apex Legends just banned like 355,000 players in one massive ban. Well, those people aren't getting to still play in some limited mode and play the game. No, fuck them. They cheated. They hacked. Yeah. They're gone. Right? We don't want those players in this game. None of us sitting here want that. So I would like. Go ahead. Yeah, right. Go ahead.
Before we close it out.
Yeah.
Something that I want to make very clear to people is, because a lot of in the original Reddit thread and in the forum threads, people were very concerned that that we should have given FDev time and that we shouldn't have brought it publicly because of all the things doing. And I know we talked about this at the beginning, but
sure,
I want
to be
very,
ahead.
very
go
clear.
Right ahead. Yeah, please.
It is not our responsibility to make sure that cheating happens. The cheating is punished in this game. It's not our problem. It's FDev's problem. And if FDev is not going to put in the work to do it, to fix it, in 6 months at a minimum, right? If they can't get it done in 6 months, everyone needs to know about it. Full stop.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, that and classically, they haven't done anything unless they're shamed publicly over it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that drives me the craziest. Have a dialogue with people, because here's an example, right? If we reported it to FDev and FDev said, "Holy shit, we didn't know about this." Obviously we can't tell you what's happening, but we are on this, right? okay, cool. We won't think about it again, right? Assuming that it gets fixed. But FDev has trained us on how to handle this, and the way that they've trained us on how to handle this is to not trust them. And it's sad.
And push them. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like if I report somebody in Apex for wall hacking, right? I'm pretty sure that all it's going to take is one person to review the data, and they're going to see it, and the person is going to get punished, right? I don't doubt that if the Apex guys find someone hacking, that they're going to be punished, that account's going to be banned, and that person's going to be out of the game until they get a new account, right? Or if I do that in PUBG, the second that they figured it out, bam, they're going to get popped, and that's the end of it, right? I have that faith in them. And how fucked is that? That I have more faith in the shitty developer that is Bluehole to punish hackers, that I have more faith in them to punish hackers than I do in FDev.
Well, then, like, even Dingo was saying it on Harry's stream, was that, you know, we were looking at it, I can't remember, it was 24 or however many hours, but there was just zero response from FDev.
Right.
Yep.
There's no transparency. There's no even acknowledgement.
They've still not responded. They've not responded in the forum thread or the Reddit thread.
And it's
They
been
haven't
like, what,
responded,
72 hours now?
72
Well,
hours.
it's been longer than
Yeah.
that for some of us. They haven't responded to me when I sent it to them privately either. I mean, as Ryan was saying, like, other games deal with this great. Another example is Overwatch. I can report someone for virtually anything, and a month later, I'll get a notification when I log into the game that says, hey, someone you reported, we took action against their account. Here's a reward. And you get a fucking reward for it. They reward you for getting rid of bad players.
In fairness, though, Blizz is a gigantic company with a lot more resources. But yeah, it's
They could
it's
do the
but,
same
but,
thing.
but Elite
issue.
Elite has 100 devs, guys. Elite has 100
That's right.
devs working
That's
on
right.
the game.
No, I agree with you.
And zero
Transparency
cheat.
is the
Zero
issue.
cheat.
Like
Yeah.
having that kind of feedback of like, oh, okay, thanks for the info. Anything would be just such a huge improvement.
It's not just that though, like, it's completely opaque as to whether they are taking action. Like, the only time we hear about action being taken is when someone complains about it. Like Overwatch, for example. When you report someone, you log in, you get a notification saying action has been taken. You don't get given a name, so you've got no idea who you reported got banned. All you know is something you did worked, someone had action taken against their account, you got a reward out of it. So you know that your reports are going somewhere, and you know that action's being taken. You know, it's that feedback loop. You know that something's happening, so you continue to keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah.
You look for the stuff that continues.
And with that, I'm going to kick it to Plater. Plater, why don't you share your final thoughts and then close us out? I've posted in my chat if anybody'd like to come. I'm not going to keep streaming, but if anybody would like to jump in here and continue the conversation, please do. Well, you know, I'm sure some of us will be. We'll keep chatting about it. But Plater, why don't you close this out?
I mean, obviously, we've spoken about a lot of different aspects today during the stream about what's affected, and essentially everyone can be affected by these types of things. Now, I'm gonna say to everyone who's watching, there is something that you can do to improve the situation, and it is very important that Frontier has examples. I know we just said that maybe we should, you know, it's not our responsibility. It's not our responsibility, but we are the ones affected by it. And if you're affected by something, you're obligated to take action if you want it to end. If you don't take action, then there will be very unlikely to be any kind of any repercussions, basically, and that's very important. So if you do spot something, record it, report it. Let me know. I'd be interested to see the example. That's something that's always interested to me, and I'm sure some of the guys here would as well. You know, just for some karma purposes, you know, just put some people on the radar. But I think with regards to the cheating in Frontier, in Elite Dangerous, we can all safely say that it's not okay. We don't want it to be happening. And that's pretty much where we all are, and we want action taken, and very much would like it to be more proactive on Frontier's side. That's kind of what I've got to say on that one.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
And so, Plater, in live stream text, I'm copying and pasting about 10 videos of people
Examples.
using hacks like this.
Yeah.
In PvP.
I'd be interested to watch them because it'll be an interesting thing because, like I said, you know, you guys as PvPers, you see a lot more of it because you interact with players a lot more.
Yeah.
Sure, people are so brazen in their cheating these days that they'll wait until I start streaming to come and attack me with.
Oh, Harry's cutting out again.
Oh, did I cut out again?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I was just saying, like, people are so brazen with their cheats that they'll come and attack streamers on purpose. Just they don't care that they're going to get caught that they're hacking. It's just the fact that they work, and they'll attack people where they know they can get the biggest impact.
And so one thing to note, later the last video that I posted, is bots that are doing power play that are fully automated.
Yeah, and we didn't really even get into that today, but because it all falls into the same thing, right? I want to kind of close this out here by, first of all, thanking everybody for coming together and thanking everybody for all of their work, right? Plater broke the story, first to YouTube. Ryan had been spending a lot of time investigating it. He and Obsidian couldn't make it today, guys. I should have been more specific about this at the top of the show, but Obsidian couldn't make it today for some family commitments. It was really awesome of him to restream us to get some more eyes on this. He feels incredibly strong about this as well. We are all absolutely on the same page here. And I think the biggest thing to end with that might be obvious but might not is the reason you guys are all sitting here listening to us is because we all absolutely love this game, right? There is no doubt about, to us, just to be clear about that, if we didn't care passionately about this game, we wouldn't do the things we do. We wouldn't have done this investigation. I'd argue that Plater and I wouldn't be producing content. I mean, all of these things, we care about this game. We care about its future, and, we want to work with Frontier to make that happen. And when seemingly Frontier doesn't want to work back with us, it almost leaves us no choice but to act the way that we have, right? So again, with that,